I've always believed the world was ordinary, predictable. You wake up, you go to work, you come home. You survive another day. But the night I first saw him, everything I thought I knew unraveled. My life didn't just change, it split into two halves, before him and after. It started on a cold evening in late October. The kind of night when the air carries secrets and the sky feels too heavy with stars. I had just finished my shift at the bookstore, clutching my coat tighter around me as I walked home. The streets were quiet, too quiet. It's the only sound the crunch of fallen leaves under my boots. I should have felt safe. I always walked this route. But that night the shadows stretched differently. The silence pressed against my ears until my pulse drowned it out. And then I felt it. The unmistakable sensation of being watched. I told myself not to look back. Not to give in to the kind of fear that made you imagine monsters in alleys. But my body betrayed me. My eyes flicked over my shoulder, and that's when I saw him dot at first. I thought he was just a man, tall, broad-shouldered, moving with a grace that didn't belong to someone who'd grown up on these cracked city sidewalks. His presence filled the street, his shadow bending against the glow of the street lamp like it belonged to someone. More dot, and then his eyes caught mine. They weren't the color of anything human. Not brown, not blue, not even green. They were molten gold, glowing faintly in the dark, like embers refusing to die. My breath caught in my chest. It felt like the air itself was trying to warn me, yet something deeper inside me whispered, "Don't run." I froze. Every instinct screamed to move, to leave, to put distance between us. But my feet refused. I felt pulled toward him, as if some invisible thread connected us. He didn't speak. He didn't even smile. He only watched me, his eyes piercing through the walls I'd built around myself. And then, as if he decided something, he turned away. His figure slipped into the shadows, leaving me trembling in the middle of the empty street. Desperate for answers I couldn't begin to form. I told myself it was nothing, a trick of light, a stranger with strange eyes. But deep down, I knew. Nothing about that encounter was ordinary. The days that followed felt heavier, as if the world was shifting under my feet. At the bookstore, I caught myself staring at the door, waiting. At night, I left the blinds closed, but I swore I still felt those golden eyes on me, watching through the dark. And then the dreams began. I would wake, heart pounding, with the echo of howling in my ears. A forest stretched before me in those dreams, vast and endless, bathed in silver light. And always, always, I could feel him there, close enough that the air itself burned with his presence. But just out of reach. The strangest part wasn't the dreams themselves. It was the feeling I carried after them. A sense of loss so deep it ached in my bones, as if I had known him all my life and had only just remembered what it meant to miss him. I tried to shake it off, tried to bury myself in routine, but the universe, it seemed, had other plans. It was the night of the full moon when the truth finally bled through. The power had gone out in my apartment, leaving the rooms cold and silent. I lit a single candle and curled on the couch, trying to lose myself in a book. But then, from outside, I heard a sound no city street should ever carry. A howl, long, mournful, and impossibly close. My blood turned to ice. I told myself it was a dog, nothing more. But when the second howl followed, lower, sharper, filled with a pain that rattled through my chest, I knew it was nothing ordinary. I stood at the window, staring out into the night. And there, beneath the glow of the swollen moon, I saw movement at the edge of the trees. A figure, tall, familiar. His golden eyes caught the moonlight like a beacon, locking onto me across the distance. It was him. The stranger from the street. But this time, he wasn't just a man. His body trembled, his breath ragged, as if he were fighting something inside himself. His jaw clenched, and for a moment I thought he would collapse. And then I saw it. His silhouette began to shift, his shadow bending and stretching, bones reshaping in ways no human body should. Fear should have sent me running. But I didn't move. My palms pressed against the glass, my breath fogging the window, as if I could anchor myself to the sight of him. One truth became clear in that moment. He wasn't human, and yet my heart whispered a truth far more dangerous. He was mine. I should have screamed. I should have shut the blinds, locked the doors, and called someone, anyone. But I didn't. I stood there, palms pressed to the glass, my breath quickening as the figure outside trembled beneath the moon. His body strained against itself, as though he was caught between two worldsman and beast. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the shift stilled. His chest heaved, sweat glistening on his skin even in the cold night. Slowly, his golden eyes lifted to mine. A jolt went through me, sharp and undeniable, like my soul recognized something my mind couldn't yet name. Before I could move, before I could even blink, he turned and disappeared into the trees. The night swallowed him whole. I barely slept. My mind replayed what I'd seen, every detail sharp as glass. By morning, reason tried to return. I told myself it had to be a dream, exhaustion, a trick of the shadows. But the truth pressed heavy in my chest. It was real, and even worse, I wanted to see him again. 3 days passed. Each evening I lingered by the window, candlelight flickering behind me, waiting for the impossible. And on the third night he came. This time he didn't stay in the shadows. He stepped out of the forest and into the yard, tall and broad, his movements deliberate. My heart pounded as I realized he was coming straight for my door. Every instinct screamed danger. Yet when the knock came low, firm, echoing in the silence, I didn't hesitate. I opened it. He stood there, damp hair clinging to his forehead, his shirt torn near the shoulder. His eyes, brighter now, flickered with something fierce and desperate. "You shouldn't have seen me," he said. His voice was low, edged with a roughness that sent shivers down my spine. "I did," I whispered. "And I'm not afraid." His jaw tightened, as though he didn't believe me, or maybe he didn't want to. For a moment, he just looked at me, studying me with those burning eyes, like he was trying to decide whether to step inside or run. Finally, he shook his head. "You don't understand what I am. If you're smart, you'll forget me." But forgetting was impossible, even standing in front of him. Every nerve in my body screamed the truth. I had been waiting for him long before that night. I should have let him leave. But instead, I asked the only question that burned in my throat. "What are you?" His gaze darkened. He stepped closer, so close the air between us seemed to crackle. You don't want the answer, but I did. With every part of me, I wanted it. "Then show me," I whispered. Something flickered across his face, pain, longing, maybe even hunger. For a heartbeat, I thought he would. I thought he'd give me the truth. But then, just as quickly, he pulled back. "I can't," he muttered. "Not without risking you." The words struck harder than they should have. Risking me. Somehow I mattered to him, even if he wouldn't admit it. After that night, he didn't come again. But he didn't vanish either. I felt him everywhere, in the corner of crowded streets, in the reflection of store windows. In the restless way my dreams refused to release me. And then one evening, as I left work, the world reminded me how close danger always was. The streets were quiet, too quiet, just like that first night. My keys jingled nervously in my hand as I hurried down the narrow road. That's when I heard footsteps. Heavy, unsteady. Following, I quickened my pace. The steps quickened too. A man stumbled from the shadows, his eyes glassy, his breath sour with alcohol. "Hey there," he slurred, his grin crooked. "Pretty thing, walking alone at night. Dangerous, isn't it?" I froze. My chest tightened as he stepped closer. "Stay back," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. But he only laughed. Or what? Before I could answer, a growl tore through the air. Low, savage, the kind of sound no human throat could make. The drunk man spun around, his face draining of color. From the darkness, he emerged, the stranger with golden eyes. But this time, his gaze wasn't soft or conflicted. It was lethal. He stepped forward, every movement precise, like a predator ready to strike. His voice was a snarl when he spoke. "Leave now." The man didn't need telling twice. He bolted, stumbling down the street until his shadow vanished. Silence fell again. Only the echo of my heartbeat remained. I turned to him breathless, caught between fear and something dangerously close to gratitude. His eyes softened the moment they met mine, though his body still trembled with the remnants of rage. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered again. But this time it sounded less like a warning and more like a confession. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could, he vanished into the night as quickly as he had come. That was when I realized something. It's terrifying. It wasn't just fate drawing me to him. It was his presence, his danger, his impossible pull. And no matter how much he pushed me away, I couldn't let go. Because I knew, deep down, that the man with golden eyes wasn't just part of my story anymore. He was my story, and I had no idea if that meant salvation or ruin. After that night in the street when he saved me from the drunk man, I knew I couldn't keep pretending. Whoever or whatever he was, he had stepped out of the shadows for me. And that meant I was already part of his world, whether he wanted me there or not. But he disappeared again. Days passed with no sign of him. No golden eyes, no faint footsteps in the distance. I tried to convince myself to let it go, but the bond pulling me toward him only grew sharper, like an ache in my chest that wouldn't fade. On the fifth night, I snapped. I couldn't wait for him anymore. I went looking. The forest behind my apartment had always been off limits after dark. It's the kind of place people whispered about but never dared to enter. Still, my feet carried me there. As though something inside me already knew that's where he lived. The air was colder among the trees, thick with damp earth and the faint scent of pine. My heart raced with every step deeper into the shadows. I told myself I was foolish, reckless. But then I heard it low voices, carried on the wind. I crept closer until I saw them. A circle of men stood in a clearing, tall and broad, their movements sharp and animal-like. And at the center, him, the stranger with golden eyes. But this time, he wasn't just watching. He was leading. He spoke with authority, his voice commanding. "We don't show ourselves. Not to anyone. You know the risk." One of the men growled, "But she's seen you. You should have silenced her." Silenced. The word froze my blood. "She's different," he said, his tone firm. "I won't harm her, Cale," the man snapped, his teeth bared. "You're the alpha son. You know what the council will demand? No human can know what we are. Alpha son." The pieces clicked, each one cutting deeper. He wasn't just a man with golden eyes. He was a wolf. And not just any wolf, a leader. A prince of monsters hiding in plain sight. I must have stepped on a branch because the snap echoed through the clearing. Every head turned. Golden eyes met mine across the darkness, wide with shock and fury. "Run," he growled. But it was too late. Two of the men lunged, their movements too fast, too sharp. I stumbled backward, but before they reached me, Cale shifted. The sound of it tore through the night bones, cracking, skin splitting, a body reshaping into something both terrifying and magnificent. In seconds, the man I knew was gone. Replaced by a massive wolf with fur, dark as midnight and eyes that burned like fire. He launched at them with a roar, forcing them back. Snarls and claws filled the clearing, a storm of violence too wild to watch. I pressed against a tree, trembling, unable to breathe. When it ended, silence fell heavy. The others vanished into the trees, retreating into the night. And then the great wolf turned to me. His chest heaved, its golden eyes softer now, filled with something that looked almost like fear. Slowly, painfully, his body shifted back. And there he was again, Cale, barely clothed, shaking, but still standing between me and the world that wanted me gone. "You shouldn't be here," he rasped, blood trickling down his arm. "Now they'll never let you go." I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But instead, I stepped toward him, heart pounding. "What are you?" My voice cracked. His eyes darkened, as if the weight of the truth itself hurt. "I'm a wolf shifter, born of the pack, bound by blood by laws you can't imagine. He shook his head. And now you know. The world tilted. Everything I thought impossible stood before me, raw and undeniable. But beneath the fear, another truth burned stronger. The way he looked at me wasn't just protective. It was personal. Why protect me? I whispered. His jaw tightened, and for a long moment he said nothing. Then, finally, because you're mine. The words sent a shiver through me. Dangerous, irresistible. His, but before I could speak. Another voice cut through the night. Cold, commanding, Cale. A tall figure stepped into the clearing. His presence heavier than all the others. Older, stronger. His eyes gleamed the same golden fire, but colder, harder. I didn't need to ask who he was. This was the Alpha. His father. She knows, the Alpha said. His voice like iron. You've broken the law. Cale moved instantly, placing himself between us. I'll handle it. The Alpha's gaze flicked to me, sharp and merciless. She cannot live with this knowledge. My stomach dropped. Ice crawled through my veins. No, Cale growled, his body trembling with defiance. Touch her, and you'll go through me. The Alpha's lips curved into something between a sneer and a smile. Then you've chosen son. You've chosen a human over your pack. His words cut the air like a blade. I stood frozen, my heart hammering as Cale's hand found mine. His grip was strong, trembling with fury and fear. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't just caught in a secret anymore. I was at the center of a war. The Alpha's words echoed through the clearing like thunder. You've chosen a human over your pack. Cale's grip on my hand tightened until I felt the tremor in his bones. His father's golden eyes burned with fury, but behind them I saw something colder conviction. He wasn't threatening. He was promising, you know the law, the Alpha said, his voice sharp as steel. No human survives with our secret. Panic clawed up my throat. My breath came shallow, the edges of the world spinning. This wasn't a nightmare. This was real. And I was standing one step away from death. But Cale moved before fear could swallow me whole. He pulled me behind him, his body a shield. His voice, rough with defiance, cut the night. Then the law dies with me. For the first time, I saw if the beast within him wasn't just fury or power. It was love, desperate, reckless. A love that defied blood and law and reason. His father snarled, stepping closer. You'd betray your own kind for her? Cale's reply was a whisper, meant only for me. I already have. The standoff broke when the forest erupted with movement. Shapes leaped from the shadows wolves, massive and feral, circling us like predators closing in. The pack. My chest tightened as fear clawed through me. We were surrounded. Cale's arm wrapped around me, steadying me even as his body tensed to fight. But there were too many. Even I could see it. The Alpha raised his hand and the wolves stilled. Bring her no. Cale roared, his voice raw. Before they could move, Cale spun to me, his golden eyes blazing. Listen to me. Whatever happens, you can't give up on me. I didn't understand what he meant until his lips crashed onto mine. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't careful. It was fire and hunger and desperation, everything he'd fought to hide pouring into me at once. The bond between us exploded, sharp and electric, like lightning striking bone. I gasped against him, my whole body trembling under the weight of it. For one breathless moment, the world disappeared. It was just us. His mouth on mine, his hand cradling my face, his soul crashing into mine like it had always belonged there. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine, his voice breaking. Now they'll never be able to take you from me. The bond is sealed. The pack howled as if the earth itself had heard his confession. The Alpha's face twisted with rage. You fool! You've cursed her. I barely had time to ask what he meant before the wolves attacked. Cale pushed me aside, shifting midair with a roar that split the night. His body shattered into fur and muscle, claws ripping the earth as he collided with the first wolf. The clearing erupted in chaos. Snarls, blood, the sound of bodies slamming into the ground. I stumbled back, my hands shaking, my mind screaming that I should run. But I couldn't. Not when Kale fought like a storm to keep me safe. Not when every instinct in me burned to stay by his side. And then I saw him falter. One of the wolves lunged from behind, teeth sinking into his shoulder. He roared in pain, staggering. Another wolf circled, eyes glowing, ready to strike the final blow. Kale. I screamed. Something inside me snapped. Heat flared in my veins, strange and wild, like fire waking from sleep. My vision blurred, my body trembling as if the bond he spoke of was tearing something open inside me. And then, before I understood what I was doing, a sound ripped from my throat. Not a scream. Not human. A cry that shook the trees and froze every wolf in place. The alpha's head snapped toward me, its eyes narrowing. She's awakening, he hissed. Awakening. The word spun through me like a blade, but before I could demand answers, the alpha lifted his hand. The wolves stopped their attack instantly, retreating into the shadows with a growl. Kale staggered back toward me, blood dripping from his shoulder, his body shaking from the fight. He shifted back into human form, his chest heaving. His golden eyes locked onto mine, wide with shock. "You're not just human," he whispered, voice breaking. My heart slammed against my ribs. "What are you saying?" He reached for me, his fingers trembling against my cheek. "You felt that the bond didn't just seal us. It woke something in you. Something I don't understand." His father stepped forward, his gaze colder than winter. "Then she's even more dangerous than I thought." The pack stirred again. Waiting for his command, Kale's body tensed, ready to fight. But his father's words cut sharper than claws. "If she lives, she destroys us. If she dies, she destroys you. So tell me, son, what will you sacrifice?" The world spun, silence pressing against my ears. Kale's hand tightened on mine, his golden eyes burning with torment. And for the first time since I met him, I didn't know if he could save me. The alpha's words hung in the air like a blade. "If she lives, she destroys us. If she dies, she destroys you." Kale's hand gripped mine so tightly it hurt, but I clung back just as hard. His golden eyes burned with torment, flicking between me and his father. I could feel his pulse racing through his skin, could feel the war tearing him apart. And for the first time I realized my fear wasn't for me. It was for him. I whispered his name, barely a breath. "Kale." His head dropped, his forehead pressing to mine. "I can't lose you," he rasped. "Not to them. Not to fate. Not to anything." The alpha snarled. "Then you've chosen your death with hers." The pack surged forward. Wolves in every direction, teeth bared, ready to end me before the bond could deepen. Kale shifted in an instant, his roar shaking the clearing, his body colliding with theirs in a storm of fur and blood. The sight ripped through me. He was strong, but they were many. Each strike he delivered was answered with claws, with fangs, with merciless force. He fought like a man already dead, desperate to give me a chance to run. But I couldn't leave him. I wouldn't. The heat inside me flared again, the same wild energy that had burst from me before. My skin burned, my vision blurred. The bond between us pulsed like a living thing, pulling at me, demanding I do something. And then it came. I screamed not in fear, but in fury, and fire erupted around me. Real fire. Flames curled up my arms, circling me in a blaze that didn't burn my skin. The wolves skidded back, snarling, their eyes wide with shock. Kale staggered toward me, blood streaking his chest, his eyes filled with awe and terror. "You're not human," he whispered again. The alpha stepped forward, his gaze sharp. "No, she's something else. Something that should have died long ago." His voice dripped with recognition, with hatred. My heart pounded. "What are you talking about?" He sneered. "You carry the blood of our oldest enemy. Witch fire runs in your veins. That's what the bond woke inside you." The word struck like lightning. Witch fire. Enemy, everything inside me shattered. I wasn't just forbidden. I was poison to them. Kale shook his head violently. No, she's mine. Fate gave her to me. Fate, his father spat, gave you a curse. The alpha lunged. Shifting midair, his massive wolf form crashing into Kale. They tumbled into the dirt, a storm of claws and snarls. My body screamed to run, but the bond yanked me forward. The fire at my hands roared higher, answering my rage. Stop! I cried, but they didn't. Father against son. Blood against blood. Kale's wolf slammed his father into the earth, his jaws snapping at his throat. For a heartbeat, it looked like he might win. But the alpha rolled, slashing Kale's side with claws that cut deep. His roar of pain tore through me, and then something inside me broke. I raised my hands, and the fire leaped from me like a storm unleashed. It struck the alpha, engulfing him in flames so bright the forest itself lit like day. His howl echoed into the night, wild and furious. The pack scattered, fear ripping them apart. When the flames dimmed, the alpha lay on the ground, his body shifting back into human form, burned, broken, but still alive. He coughed blood, his golden eyes locked on me. "You've doomed us all," he rasped. Kale shifted back, staggering toward me, his body torn and bleeding. He caught me as my knees buckled, pulling me against his chest. "No," he whispered fiercely. "She saved us." I pressed my shaking hands to his wounds, tears blurring my vision. "You're hurt." He caught my face in his bloodied hands, forcing me to meet his eyes. "You chose me when you stayed. You chose me when you kissed me back. That's all I need." My heart ached with love so sharp it felt like pain. But beyond it, fear lingered. The alpha wasn't dead. The pack had seen everything. I wasn't just an outsider now. I was a threat. And Kale had destroyed himself by binding his fate to mine. The alpha's voice rose again, weak but venomous. "This isn't over. You think love will save you? Love is the weapon that will end you both." His words sent a chill through me deeper than the fires. Warmth, because for the first time I wondered if he was right. That night changed everything. The bond between Kale and me was no longer hidden. The pack would never accept me, and I was no longer who I thought I was. The girl who walked home from the bookstore was gone. In her place stood someone bound to a wolf by fire and fate, carrying a power I didn't understand, hunted by those who should have been his family. I held Kale tighter, his blood warm against my skin as the weight of it crashed over me. We had survived the night. But at what cost? The story wasn't ending. It was only just beginning. I carried Kale through the forest as best I could, his arm heavy around my shoulders, his body torn and bleeding. Every step felt impossible. Yet somehow we moved. The fire that had burst from me still hummed beneath my skin. Faint, but alive, like an ember waiting for breath. Behind us? The alpha's broken form lay in the clearing, his words echoing in my head. "Love is the weapon that will end you both." But with Kale's heartbeat pressed weakly against me, I refused to believe it. We stumbled into an abandoned hunter's shack at the edge of the woods. I lowered him onto a dusty cot, my hands trembling as I pressed cloth against his wounds. Blood seeped fast, too fast. "Stay with me," I whispered, panic clawing at my chest. "Don't you dare leave me now." His golden eyes flickered open, dim but steady. I couldn't, even if I tried. Tears blurred my vision. I wanted to believe him, but the truth hung heavy in the air. He was fading. The fire inside me stirred again, warm and insistent. My hands glowed faintly against his skin, heat seeping into him. His breath hitched, and the bleeding slowed, as though my very touch was stitching him together. Kale's gaze locked on mine, awe breaking through the pain. "You're healing me." "I don't know how," I whispered. "I just can't lose you." His hand brushed my cheek, weak but certain. "Then don't." By dawn, he could sit upright, though his body bore scars. We sat together in silence, the rising sun spilling gold through the broken window. The bond between us pulsed stronger than ever. No longer something hidden, but alive and undeniable. "What happens now?" I asked. Kale looked away, jaw tight. The pack won't stop. My father may be broken, but he'll rise again. And if he can't lead, others will. They'll see you as a threat, a curse. And you? I asked softly. He turned back, his eyes burning into mine. I see you as the only thing that's ever been mine. Fate or not to choose you. The weight of his words crushed me and lifted me all at once. I wanted to fall into them, to believe love was enough. But I had seen the way the pack looked at me, fear etched into their eyes. Fear turns into hate. Hate turns into blood. We can't stay, I said. The truth cut deep, but it was the only truth left. Not here. Not with them. His jaw flexed. This is my home, and I'm the fire that will burn it down, I whispered. The silence that followed felt endless. His father's warning rang in my head, cruel and sharp. Maybe love was the weapon that would destroy us, but maybe it could be the weapon that saved us too, that night. Cale made his choice. We returned to the clearing where it had all begun. The pack gathered, wary and tense, eyes flashing with mistrust. The alpha stood, battered but alive, leaning on to wolves for support. His face was carved with rage. You bring her back here? He spat. After what she's done? Cale stepped forward, his body still bruised but unbowed. His voice carried like thunder. I bring her because she is mine. You say she's a curse. You say she'll destroy us. But last night, when we fought, you all saw who saved me. Who saved you? The pack murmured, uncertain. Eyes darted toward me. Toward the fire that still shimmered faintly at my fingertips. She is not our end, Cale said, his voice raw with conviction. She is our beginning. And if you can't see that, then I will leave this pack and take her with me. The alpha bared his teeth, fury shaking his body. If you walk away, you are no son of mine. Cale didn't flinch. Then I'll be hers. He reached for my hand, and in front of them all, he pulled me close. His lips brushed mine, fierce and unyielding, sealing the bond not just between us, but before the pack, before the world. Gasps rippled through the wolves. Some turned away. Some looked on with wonder. The alpha's face hardened like stone. This is the path you choose, he growled. Cale's arm tightened around me. It's not a choice. It's who I am. That was the last time we saw his father. We left that night carrying nothing but each other. The forest gave way to mountains, then rivers, then roads that stretched into the unknown. Each step forward felt like tearing away the life Cale had once known, but also like building something new from the ashes. There was grief in leaving, in knowing we might never belong anywhere. But there was freedom too. And love, always love. Now, when I think back to the girl, I was the one who closed her bookstore late at night. Walking home under the quiet sky, hardly recognized her. She was searching without knowing what for. Empty, though she wouldn't admit it. I found him in the shadows of the trees. Or maybe he found me. Either way, fate bound us together in fire and blood. We are not what we were meant to be. We are something else. Something terrifying. Something beautiful. And as I lay beside him now, his hand entwined with mine beneath the stars, I know one thing with certainty. The world may turn against us. His pack may hunt us. My power may rise beyond my control. But no matter what comes, I will never let go of the mate who once turned away and chose me instead.